Hey, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. Let's talk today about scouting, specifically about LT15. This in particular is LT15-4, or the fourth one for the Object 260. But the tactics we'll talk about today will apply to nearly all of your scouting missions, especially the ones where you need to hide and get some kind of passive scouting. So LT15 is a mission where you need 8,000 combined spotting or damage of your own, and that's quite a bit, and people find it very difficult to do. There's a couple good maps for it. One of them is this one I currently am on here, which is called Fiery Salient, which has a brother called Proc. I won't even try the rest of the name, and of course Malinovka. Now those are the three main maps where you can combine some pretty good passive scouting and active scouting and some damage. There are some other maps that it can be done on, but those are the three main ones. So Proc, I've actually spawned here in the south spawn, which is a fairly decent side. Actually, both sides work in Proc. And we'll get going here. First thing I'm going to do is go find myself a good passive scouting spot. So you have a couple choices as we go along here. The first one is to get up on that ridge and actively scout, which means you're going to surf the ridge, keeping yourself moving so that you cannot be hit. You don't want to be just poking over. You need to keep working it like you're surfing the edge, just barely popping your turret over. But I choose to go over here to this side. I'm going to pause it here because I want to talk about this just a little bit. From the southern spawn right here, I'm actually moving over here to the west, and my intention is to get into this bush that's at about G1. You can see up there in this area here where my cursor is, there's about 3 bushes in there, and the forward one is the best one. The enemy tries to get over in the bushes, as you can see, about E1. These are the bushes up here where my cursor is right now. So from the north spawn, that's the place you want to get to. There's a couple ways to counter that from both sides. One of them is to get your scout up in this area, and for the north spawn to get their scout up into this area so that they're close enough, staying just at the edge of the ridge and not really exposing themselves too much, that they can pick you up trying to either get into this bush or into this bush. So an aggressive scout who wants to counter will move up to here or here and attempt to spot those guys before they can get bushed up, which means they can then be shot. To counter that a little bit, I'm actually fading back towards the edge this way as opposed to making an INS direct or a direct route right towards, the bush right here. I'm actually fading this way to keep my distance as far as possible from here, and then I'm going to E&E my way or work my way up into this bush. Using the bush a little bit as cover, especially if the northern spawn guy is trying to get into his bush here. There'll be a bush between the both of us, and they should not see each other. So now you know the counter and the 2 good bushes to go to. The ridge I talked about obviously is here. The LTTB is working it. So my plan is to start out with passive scouting. So I want to get into this bush. Maybe not as good as the magic bush, which is the one that the north spawn uses. You can see right in front of me right there. Until the 1390 was attempting to do something very similar, and then he bails out when he sees I got here first. And that is just something you have to deal with multiple scouts and missions going on. Oftentimes you will have scouts trying to get into the exact same bush. So I'm showing you what I'm doing with my camera, and now we're taking a look at the way the battle is panning out. You can see that there WZ is surfing the ridge in the active role. A couple guys down here on this hill, you'll note that, holy cow, this hill is not being contested by us. Our Conqueror's kind of hanging out, and then there goes my ally right there dying off. So a little bit strange. Also, you can see they've got 4,000 more hit points than we do. Of course, we just lost a tank. So it started at about 2.5, 3, so they're quite a bit heavier hit points wise. And we've given up a complete whole side of the map. But we have a considerable amount of people trying to control the 5-6 line, which is good, and quite a few people camping back behind me. And when you're doing what I'm doing, which is the passive scouting role on the 1-2 line, you really are relying on the enemy to invest a decent amount of tanks on the 1-2 line. And of course you need the opposite of that, which is your shooters over here to help you. And the nice thing about being where I am in this bush is obviously I'm not seen, I'm bushed up. But I'm also in some high ground, which means I can see down, take control of the camera for a minute, into that little area up here where this 110E4 and WZ are trolling around. The Patton can see them if he actually pops up high enough, but he exposes himself. So this whole time I've got that 110E4 lit, which means if he pops up and gets lit, his sixth sense may go off, but if he sits there for a while and doesn't actually go back far enough like he just did right there, it'll time out, and he may actually think he's unspotted, and if you've got some artillery, that can be very bad for him. You can see that our Conqueror is shooting in on the mouse, and the mouse looks like he wants to come forward. And this can be very dangerous for me if he gets close enough. So let's talk about one more thing about scout setup. You will notice that I'm sitting here, look where my cursor is in the bottom, and I've got binocs and a camo net, which is probably, I'm one of the few good players that really runs a lot of camo net and binoculars. Most people are going to run something combat oriented and optics with potentially some camo net on there if they want to camo up. But I like to run the binoculars because when you stop, it really adds a lot of burn through, and especially on this map on proc, it can be very useful on picking guys up, such as that grill back there who's actually behind some trees and things. I'm actually picking that guy up because I can burn through it. And the RU's got a pretty good view range. I've got a good crew in it, and all those things added together. Now I'm not going to come down on the side of the binoculars being the end-all be-all. Obviously you have to stop. Passive scouting is not a big thing in the game at this point, but I just happen to prefer it because when I am passive scouting, it is very effective. When I'm active scouting, I'm usually moving around them close enough that the extra range doesn't matter much. And you can see I just spotted that T-54 lightweight trying to actually get into that bush. Also, I'm sitting here with the good camo crew. I've got some camo on the tank itself, and I've got my net running. Look at this mouse. Pretty blind tank comes right up next to me. Now I'm worried if I see anybody making a move towards me, I'm going to give you what I'm looking at. I'm going to have to bail out and hopefully survive. But you can see that I'm lighting all these guys up and they're just getting wrecked. I have my heat loaded and I'm afraid I may have to actually try to kill this mouse and then make a run for it. So I'm sort of tracking him as it happens. I see the T-57 is now moving up. Now he's going to be a problem. 1390's dead, so he didn't actually see me. The T-57, as you can see, is actually going to end up being a little bit closer to me, and he's got a better view range. So I'm pretty sure he's going to end up lighting me up, and I'm going to have to make a move right here just to survive. You can see right now I just go about here and make a run. Man, that mouse reacted fast. I think what happened is the T-57 saw me quite a bit earlier than I realized, and the mouse noticed it. So now I'm running away, and I'm using that mouse's dead body as best I can in a little zigzag. I'm praying that that grill doesn't finish me off right here. Okay, so far so good. So that's quite a bit of damage I just collected right there, and unfortunately the counter isn't working in the replay, which is unfortunate. You would see I was probably sitting at about 5,500, somewhere around there. 5.5 to 6. So I figured I kind of had a chance at this. So I'm going to get back to my bush. I'm aware that most of what they got left is sitting in the middle and probably over on the east side, but I'm concerned that that grill is an issue, and I don't want to go droning up there and get waxed because I'm so close. So I'm going to be a little bit patient right here, probably a little more than I really should be. I'll look over here at the IS-7, and when I say more patient than I should be, this is just being selfish because I'm trying to get this mission done, as opposed to really trying to make it happen for the team. The 110E4 makes a mistake, moves up where I can see him. He probably has no idea where he's being spotted from, and that collects me a little bit more damage. I considered shooting the IS-7, but I think that based on the tanks I still see on the board, especially the WZ or the Leopard, if they have snuck over near me somehow, if I shoot, I'm going to be spotted and dead. So I just need to be careful here. Really just looking forward. Where are these guys? Ah, there's the Leopard. All right, great. Now where's that WZ? The Centurion Action X is over there. I choose not to shoot the Panther. Once again, being a little bit cautious, but we start to take some hits and some losses, and now I'm getting a little bit worried. I know that 110E4 is in there somewhere, and I still don't know where that grill is. I'm assuming he's up there in front of me. So we'll continue with patience. I've got plenty of guys behind me. If anything pops up, it's probably going to get wasted. Now that's helpful. There goes the WZ, and there goes the Action X. The grill, holy cow, look how far he flexed. He went all the way from the 1-2 line all the way over there. So I'll add that piece of information to my SA bag. I know the IS-7's over there. Still haven't seen the Leopard PTA for a while. And I know the 110E4 is lurking around somewhere in front of me. Then I notice my team is moving up. So since I want the spotting damage, I need to get out in front of them. My first instinct is get up into this bush up here, which is a great spotting place for you if you can get to it. But you can see that the 110 was hiding there, and I get lucky twice. First the 110 misses me, and then the PTA bounces off of my RU. Now, most big games, some lucky break like that is going to happen. You just got to roll with it, take it. The question is, what do you do with it? Now I'm back into it. Let's get this 110 E4 out. I know the grill's not a problem. I might run into the Artie up here, but I'm going to have to rely on my speed and movement to deal with it. I think I'm going to get a shot at, oh, darn it. All right, that's fine. Grill got him spotted, so I need to keep moving. I'm going to go over here. I should be unspotted relatively soon, and I may have stopped a little early based on if the Artie was looking at me for some reason. But I know that the PTA is coming. I do not see the Artie. Here he comes. Now let's add a little bit of my own damage to the total of the spotting damage, because remember, we're trying to get to 8,000. There's a smack on him, and now I'm going to use this ridge to shield myself from him, work my way up. I'm going to avoid running over trees so he doesn't really know what direction I'm going, although he probably saw me start moving this way. You'll notice as I see my camera, I can see he's looking away from me right here, so I'm going to come over the ridge, look for a shot, miss, and then he's just going to snap me. So that's a bummer, but I'll take another hit off him here and move this way. Fortunately, someone kills him, and off we go. So I'm at 491 damage. Now I need to start looking for the Artie. I have switched from a very passive role earlier and moved into an active role where I'm attempting ridge running and moving around as much as possible to try to light tanks for my tanks behind me to collect some damage. And ideally, if I get far enough out in front and get some lights, then that is spotting damage for me, which means they don't see it, but I see it, and they do the damage. Artie will often sit here on the 6 line, so I'm trying to be careful how I approach this, give them a little bit of an angle here in case they're there and they're not there. So I suspect, because I didn't get lit over in the other corner, they've got to be over here somewhere. And oh golly, there they are. Lock this guy, and just so you know, this is Auto Aim Plus, but this was done before the new rules on Auto Aim Plus started. I'm going to go back over the tracks because I'm trying to make it difficult for these guys to shoot me. They're both looking at me. Tucking up under here is going to make it hard, and I can see that the one on the right is actually moving, so his dispersion is going to be huge. Take a bad shot. I'm using auto aim here. If I aimed, I might have actually got one of those hits in. Take another shot here and miss him. At this point, I'm starting to get concerned. I'm thinking, man, they've already missed. They've got to both be reloaded. Oh, great. The guy missed. So let's get over here where I actually have a decent shot, nice and close in. Let's take him out. Somebody missed. That was the bat chat up on the top. Make him miss because I zig and zag. He's on a reload. Take him out and keep trucking because I want to tuck down in here where I can't be hit by that bat chat that's sitting up on their hill over there. So I'm at 971 damage of my own. I was sitting at about, I want to say 700 or 7,000 spotting. And it may have been more like 6,000. I believe it was 6,500. So I knew I needed around 600 to 800 more hit points. So I'm going to move up to this bush. This is a bush that the enemy team from the spawn they started on will use quite often. And I'm going to stop and let my binoculars cook. You see they turn on right there. And see if I can't catch that bat chat moving around a little bit. But since he isn't, I'm going to continue moving. I know this is a little bit dangerous. I may actually be spotted here. Keep on moving up, using these bushes to kind of hide behind. There he is. There he is. Oh, and he happened to see me, so I'm going to just use these ridges here. I know that's an exposed position, and I have tanks down below, and it turns out they whack this guy, and I collect the last damage that I need, and that will actually put me up over the 8,000 when you include the 971 that I did. I continue to move, see if I can't get anything out of this Grill 15, but he dies pretty quick as I continue up the hill, and then that's the end. So over 8,000 with my damage and with the spotting damage, combining both passive and some active scouting. Good discussion on fiery salient / proc and how you can work that as a scout. This is a difficult mission. It requires that you have the right setup. It was a tier 10 battle, so there was plenty of hit points for me to farm. So a lot of things kind of have to come together to make this happen, but it is not impossible. And if you operate correctly in a match, it's easily done. I hope this helps. Take care.